The Wild West, an era of gunslingers, outlaws, cowboys, and pioneers, might seem like a distant and dramatic chapter in America's past. But what if I told you that the legacy of the Wild West still shapes modern America in ways we rarely think about? The spirit of independence, the formation of laws, and even our economic systems were deeply influenced by this chaotic time in history. From the harsh landscapes to the fierce battles for survival, the Wild West wasn't just a place. It was a test of willpower, strength, and resilience. And while we often remember the tales of lawless outlaws and heroic sheriffs, there's a deeper story that remains untold. One that involves the social fabric, economic foundations, and cultural shifts that have defined much of American identity today. In this article, we will uncover how the Wild West, with all its challenges, triumphs, and untold stories, played a pivotal role in shaping the nation we know today. From the birth of law and order to the economic boom that fueled modern corporate America, the Wild West left a profound mark on everything we now take for granted. Let's take a journey beyond the myths and explore how the Wild West continues to shape the world we live in through untold stories and hidden legacies that define modern America. The birth of law and order. When we think of the Wild West, the image of lawlessness often comes to mind. Shootouts, bar brawls, and vigilante justice were commonplace. But amidst the chaos, the Wild West played a crucial role in the development of law and order in America. The lawlessness of the frontier eventually laid the groundwork for the legal systems and law enforcement structures we rely on today. In the early days of westward expansion, law enforcement was non-existent. The vast, untamed land had no formal police force, and the few settlers who lived there had to rely on their own instincts and strength to survive. This lack of structure led to the rise of self-appointed lawmen, vigilantes, and sheriffs, often tasked with maintaining order in dangerous and unpredictable situations. The first signs of organized law enforcement came in the form of sheriffs and deputies, figures who, while rough around the edges, were responsible for upholding justice in boomtowns and settlements. Wyatt Earp, one of the most famous lawmen of the Wild West, became known for his role as a marshal in towns like Dodge City and Tombstone. Earp's efforts to clean up lawless towns set a precedent for the role of lawmen in frontier society. But it wasn't just about enforcing the law, it was about creating an environment where people could live, work, and thrive without constant fear of violence or theft. As the mining towns grew in population and wealth, more formal systems of law enforcement began to emerge. Town marshals, sheriff's offices, and even posse comitatus, citizens' militias, became integral parts of life in the West. They ensured that basic rules were followed and that there was some sense of justice in communities that had once been defined by chaos and anarchy. The Wild West also introduced the concept of the vigilante, individuals or groups who took the law into their own hands when authorities failed to act swiftly. While vigilantism sometimes led to swift justice, it also created chaos and fueled mob rule, highlighting the need for more organized and reliable law enforcement. The rough-and-tumble world of the Wild West may have been harsh, but it was the foundation upon which modern policing was built. The lessons learned from these early, dangerous days helped shape the police forces we rely on today, institutions built to ensure public safety and enforce the law in a much more organized and structured society. The frontier's influence on the American dream. The American dream, the belief that anyone, regardless of their background, can achieve success and prosperity through hard work, is deeply intertwined with the legacy of the Wild West. The frontier wasn't just a vast, untamed landscape. It was the ultimate test of individual resilience, self-reliance, and the pursuit of opportunity. In the Wild West, many saw the chance to build a new life from nothing. The idea of land ownership, personal freedom, and unlimited potential drew thousands of settlers westward, lured by the promise of striking it rich through mining, cattle ranching, or starting new towns. The idea of heading west to claim one's fortune was central to the American dream, the idea that anyone, no matter their past, could start anew in a land of boundless possibility. The stories of pioneers, outlaws, and entrepreneurs from the Wild West became the epitome of the American dream. The frontier was a place where people could reinvent themselves, leaving behind the constraints of old-world class systems and the rigidity of Eastern society. Here, they could take risks and carve out their futures, often from sheer determination and grit. But the Wild West also shaped the American dream by emphasizing the idea of self-made success. Whether it was a miner striking gold, a rancher building a prosperous cattle empire, or a business person starting a new railroad, the Wild West was a symbol of individual empowerment. People were able to establish their own futures without waiting for government help or established social structures to give them a leg up. Yet the reality was far more complex. The frontier also taught that the pursuit of success often came with a high price. For every person who struck it rich, there were thousands who faced hardship, poverty, and failure. The struggles of the settlers weren't just about survival, it was about constantly working for something that, for many, seemed just out of reach. Despite the hardship, the frontier spirit left an indelible mark on American society. It fostered the idea that success is achievable through perseverance, a core tenet of the American dream. The Wild West was a land of challenges, but also of boundless opportunity, where the rules of society were flexible and individuals could shape their own destinies. Economic growth and the rise of corporations. The Wild West was far more than a place for rugged individualists and outlaw legends. It was a hotbed of economic growth that set the stage for corporate America. While many remember the gold rush, cattle ranching, and mining as part of the frontier's wild economy, these industries also gave rise to the corporations and economic practices that would dominate the United States in the 20th century. The first spark of economic expansion came with the California Gold Rush of 1848. What started as a handful of prospectors panning for gold soon became a massive economic engine that fueled the development of new industries. Towns and cities sprung up virtually overnight, leading to a surge in infrastructure development, such as railroads, telegraph lines, and supply chains. These were the early foundations of modern corporations, as businesses began to evolve from small, localized efforts to large, organized enterprises. By the time the Transcontinental Railroad was completed in 1869, a new era of corporate power had arrived. The railroad opened up vast areas of the West for settlement and commerce, but it also created some of the first large-scale corporations. Railroad barons like Leland Stanford and C.P. Huntington weren't just running trains. They were building sprawling networks of power that tied the nation together, enabling goods, people, and capital to move quickly across vast distances. These railroads transformed local economies into national markets, which in turn increased the demand for raw materials, food, and other goods. The rise of large-scale corporate ventures in the Wild West didn't stop at railroads. Mining companies took over gold and silver claims, employing thousands of workers in hazardous conditions and using large amounts of capital to extract wealth from the earth. Cattle ranching became another corporate giant. What began with small, family-run ranches soon transformed into enormous enterprises, where corporate owners ran massive herds across vast landscapes, sending beef to markets across the country. The cowboy, who was once a symbol of individualism, became part of a larger corporate machine, working for companies that controlled the market. While corporate growth brought wealth and progress to some, it also had its drawbacks. As corporations grew larger, the gap between the rich and poor widened, and the environment was damaged. The extraction of natural resources in the West began to leave long-lasting marks on the land, especially through practices like hydraulic mining and overgrazing. Still, the Wild West laid the foundation for the corporate economy we see today. The development of industries, the rise of railroads, and the creation of large-scale businesses in the frontier led to the modern economic structure that dominates global commerce today. The corporate giants of the 19th century, born in the rugged landscapes of the Wild West, laid the groundwork for the globalized economy of the 21st century. The Wild West may seem like a distant, romanticized chapter of American history, but its influence on modern America is undeniable. From law enforcement to the American dream, economic growth, and the fight for Native American rights, the Wild West's untold stories have shaped the very core of American society today. As we've uncovered, the Wild West wasn't just about cowboys and outlaws. It was about resilience, survival, and the relentless pursuit of opportunity. Whether through settling new frontiers, building corporations, or fighting for justice and equality, the Wild West set the stage for many of the values that we hold dear in modern America. But the Wild West also serves as a reminder that progress often comes at a cost. The struggles, hardships, and sacrifices faced by those who lived through this era are deeply woven into the fabric of our identity as a nation. Today, we live in a world shaped by the spirit of independence, individualism, and entrepreneurship that first took root on the frontier. While we may no longer be riding horseback into the unknown, the legacy of the Wild West still influences how we live, work, and dream. This is just the beginning of the stories yet to be told, and we'll continue to explore the hidden histories, unsung heroes, and untold truths that shaped the America we know today. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Wild West. Stay tuned for more as we continue to uncover how the past shapes our present and future.